Welcome back to the Jake Underwood Show right here, AM 1420, The Answer. And we're going to talk with Joe Burdick. Yesterday, he was busy. He was texting me. He was on his way down to Columbus, and it's because he was going to give some testimony on behalf of Senate Bill 244. That's legislation that would designate August 26th as Abbey Gate Remembrance Day in Ohio. And so we're going to get Joe on. Joe, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks for having me back on. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So for people who don't, I know that a lot of people are familiar with Abbey Gate, but they might not necessarily know that there's a connection to Ohio. Can you give people a little bit of the background?
Yeah, for those that don't know, we lost 13 heroes at Abbey Gate when we pulled out of Afghanistan. One of those heroes was from up here in northern Ohio in Berlin Heights. His name was Maxton Soviak, and he was a 22-year-old Navy corpsman, all-around great guy, comes from a good family. I've become friends with the family, and I've made it my personal quest to honor those sacrifices of all 13 that were killed. When I met his mom, Rachel, and she told me the only thing she needs from me is to help keep Max's memory alive, and that hit real close to me. So this has been my passion project.
And so yesterday, you went down there personally, and you talked about how you've spoken to Senators Christina Rogner as well as Jane Timken to introduce this bill. Why did you feel the responsibility to initiate this?
Yeah, so like I said, it started with a promise that I made to Rachel Soviak, and as I got to know the family, especially with kids being close to the ages of the 13 that were killed. I mean, some of them were only 20 years old. I felt that it was something that I had to do, and honestly, I felt it was something that they deserved, something more than just Memorial Day or Veterans Day or anything like that. I felt that those 13 deserved that day to be remembered for their sacrifice. Because, and I guess honestly, because when I talk to people, not only in Ohio, but from all over the country, most people, it's recent history and they don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I just felt like we owe it to them not to forget them. I mean, we say never forget, but I don't think people really grasp what that means. That means, you need to learn about them before you can promise not to forget about them.
Yeah,
so
no, well said.
This is just part of what, yeah.
Yeah, well said.
But Jane, when I met Christina Rogner and Jane Timken, in my opinion, they're rock stars. They're not my senators. They could have blown me off, because I'm not one of their constituents. But both of them, they're like, we want to do this. And the Monday after I met Christina Rogner, they were on this. So and what I heard down at the State House yesterday is if you want something done, especially with regards to veterans affairs, Christina Rogner is a rock star, and she's going to get things done. And man, that's the truth.
Yeah, not just with veterans, but just in general. Christina Rogner's she's one of the good ones. That she has a great reputation, and she works really hard. Let me ask you, what was the atmosphere like during the hearing itself?
It was. I had this, C-SPAN type of image in my head of, what these things are going to look like, a big giant room with oak and, all these old politicians. When I got ushered into this little itty bitty room,
mm-hmm.
and there must have been about 7 people in the committee, and there was maybe 15 or 20 people in the gallery with me, it was a lot smaller than I thought, but having never visited the State House before, there was so much like hustle and bustle with tours and with politicians, and it was a fun experience for me, to do it and then to get up there and to, just read my prepared remarks. about how important this day is. And I guess, I was surprised and almost a little disappointed too that, when the chairperson opened it up for questions from the other committee members, none of them had any questions. I was a little I was prepared for it, so I was a little surprised that none of them had any questions for me.
Well, do you think that's because, I mean, it's I don't know that there's, I mean, is there anybody who's disagreeing with this? Like, is there any, are you getting any disapproval or anything like that?
No, and thank God. And part of my prepared speech, I even put in there, it's not political at all, and it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, because some of these kids that died, they were Democrats,
Yeah.
and some of them were Republicans, and probably some of them just didn't care. So it's for all of them. So no, there hasn't been any opposition, and I hope when it finally gets to the House, the full House, it's there isn't any either, because I'll be very disappointed and probably very vocal, but no opposition at all.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised it takes as long as it does.
Man, you're telling me. I mean, I found that out during Maha, man. I thought when I was working with Make America Healthy Again, you think, yeah, oh, you introduce it, and then a few people, there's a hearing or two, and no. It's insane what can happen. Even when they say they're going to speed it up, it takes months. It's insane.
Max Miller told me nothing happens quick in government.
Yeah, right. I want to say, and this is my gut feeling here, and I hope that I'm right, but the reason why there were no questions, it was just kind of like, a sign of respect. Like, you went in there, you said what you said, and, it might have even been, a little bit of unity. Maybe they all kind of agree with what you're saying there, and they're going, all right, yeah, this makes sense, and we need to honor them. I think when it moves to the House, the only way that I could see that this could become political is because, and you said it's not political, it's not partisan, but it was controversial the way that the withdrawal happened out of Afghanistan. Do you think that people are going to be able to separate the remembrance from the policy debacle?
Man, I really hope so, because we're not, the senators and myself, we're not bringing any of that up. We're not talking about accountability. We're not talking about administrations. We're just talking about Gold Star families here. So, man, I really hope not. And, and one of the other things I said in my speech yesterday is I looked them right in the face and I said, this bill costs nothing, but means everything.
Yeah.
And when I thought of that, it hit home for me, because it literally costs the state nothing, but these Gold Star families, when it pops up on their calendar every year, they're gonna know, oh my God, first of all, they'll never forget that day, but at least they'll know that in Ohio, this is, we don't forget.
Well, something else you said yesterday, because I watched, excuse me, I watched the clip, and you said what service members fear most is not death, it's being forgotten. And that's
right.
that I was like,
meant that.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh. I'm like, all right, Joe, there you go, buddy. Like that hit me. So, here we are, 5 years later. Do you think we're at risk of forgetting?
We definitely are. There's people in Ohio that have never heard the name Maxton Soviak, and I always say, we can't possibly know everybody that died in every battle. It'd be nice if we could, at least say their name, but yeah, we are forgetting. They're being lost already to, 5 years down the road. We're getting desensitized, and it's a shame. I mean, I owe it to them, to try to keep their names alive. I do whatever I can, and I take every opportunity to talk about those 13, because, having become close with the Soviak family, and also with the mothers of Kareem Nakui and Dylan Marola, I've gotten to know a personal side of this. So it's become personal for me. And, I just hope that I'm living a life worth them dying for, because they don't get a chance to talk about their experiences on the radio, or, any of that stuff, or their lost brothers or sisters. So for me, it's important to keep that out there, because because a service member dies twice, once when their heart stops, and again when the last time their name is ever spoken. And, I don't want them to be forgotten. I don't want, what I want is on August 26th next year, or actually this year, on the fifth year anniversary, that people are like, hey, I think I heard the name Max Soviak. Who was he?
Yeah.
And then they look him up. Or who was Humberto Sanchez or Nicole G. or what happened at Abbey Gate anyway? And then they can see for themselves, holy cow, this is messed up. Why do we do this? And so that's my ultimate goal, is that this bill will keep their names out there forever. At least in Ohio. Now, I know Max Miller made his own, he submitted his own bill in Congress to make it a national day. His aide actually texted me on August 26th of last year at my day of remembrance in Seven Hills. And, but with these shutdowns and everything, that thing hasn't even moved in Congress.
Yeah.
So, but he's working on making it a national day.
And so, if it becomes a national day, I think the reason, let me back up a little bit. I think the reason why, I don't even want to say people are hesitant, but they don't think of it, is because given the administration that it happened under, not to make it political, but it is a little bit, just because that politics are involved. But there was coverage of it, but it went away really quick. And I don't know that people know exactly what happened and the steps that led up to the debacle that happened there. And I think that's
Right.
a major problem with this.
I mean, it's so hard for me not to make it political, but I'm really trying hard not to. I mean, I don't think people fully grasp, they hear, oh, we left behind billions of dollars of equipment. And what they don't understand, and most people don't even realize, when we pulled out of Bagram, the base in Bagram, and left all that stuff there, the Taliban started using those weapons against our people at Abbey Gate. The 13 that were killed, but there were, hundreds there. They were being shot at by our own ammunition. They rammed the gates with our trucks. And, I mean, it's so frustrating for me, but this bill and my passion for it it's not about the previous administration and how the screw up. This is just about honoring those Gold Star families. They sent their kids off and they never made it home. And I don't even look at it as a veteran, Jake. I look at it as a father. And, we send our kids off to, all those 13 and there's even, the people that were injured, traumatic brain injuries, all that. I met a kid, I'm kind of veering off topic here, but I met a kid, Max Soviak's 27th birthday was recently, and his parents invited me to their house in Berlin Heights for a birthday party. Mm-hmm. Well, I met a kid, a Marine, that was at Abbey Gate, and he survived. I could tell he's got probably some kind of TBI or something. He had a service dog with him. The nicest kid in the world, and he survived, and I'm sure he's got survivor's guilt. But it's not about bashing Biden or Milley or any of those guys. Yeah. It's just about these 13 and also, Jake, not just the 13 that died, even though their names are the one on the bill. It's about all those people. We have a girl from Ohio, Kelsey Lanehart is her name. I haven't met her. I haven't spoken with her, but she was a corporal in the Marines, and she got really messed up. And survived, thank God. And, she's one. This bill is also for her sacrifice, too, even though, she's not mentioned in it. So it's really not so much about the screw up and all that stuff political. At least I'm trying to make it that way.
Yeah, it
doesn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, it's about the people. It's about the people that were out there and they were risking their lives. And some of them lost them for us. Yes. I mean, that there's really no other way to put it. It was for us. Let me ask you, because we got a few minutes left. What happens next with Senate Bill 244? What are the next steps?
Well, so I'm not as politically savvy as you are, but So what I was told yesterday, I got most of my stuff from Schoolhouse Rock. I still have that song
Okay.
playing in my head as I was walking up to Capitol Hill. But so what I was told yesterday, because one of the people in the committee had a great idea to add the branches of service to each of the members,
Okay.
the 13. So they made an amendment to the bill. Now, I met a great guy, David Root. He has something to do with the VFW. I met him yesterday, but he told me what they're going to have to do now is it's going to have to go back to the Senate
Right.
to get it approved,
Yeah.
since there was an amendment on it after the House approves it. So I guess what happens next is the House has to approve it, and then it's going to go to the Senate, and they're going to approve the amendment. And then it'll go back. Then it'll go to the governor's desk, from what I heard. But I mean, it could be on the governor's desk as early as next month.
Yeah. I mean, I think once it passes the House, it goes back to the Senate. It should be pretty easy. I mean, yeah, that part will go pretty quick. So that won't be too much of a problem.
The committee member, I think his name was Ginbari or something like that. But it was a great idea to add this, their services. There's 11 Marines, 1 soldier, and 1 sailor, so that should be recognized in there, that each of the branches of service. So I completely agreed with it, even if it slows it down a little bit.
Yeah, no, it just makes sense. Let me ask you, if listeners, if they support this bill, what can they do to help out?
Well, first and foremost, you can live a life worth dying for. That's almost my new motto.
Okay.
So, and you can also, take a few minutes to read about, each of the 13 people. I mean, I think we owe it to them. Start with Max Soviak. So if you're listening to this, you're from Northeast Ohio, most likely. Start with Maxton Soviak and look into the Maxton Soviak Memorial Foundation. Look into that, and then just go right down the line. There's only 13, but you could also encourage your senator to approve the bill. I know it's going to happen, but you could encourage your senator to move forward with it.
Yeah.
Or actually, it would be Congress now, not Senate, but the most important thing is let's stop being, and I'm one, I need to practice what I preach, but we need to be better human beings, even to people that maybe we don't even like. I had a friend recently, Jake, he decided he didn't want anything to do with me, and he unfollowed me, unfriended me on Facebook and in life because I'm a Republican. And he's like, Joe, I'm done with you. And I'm like, hey, sorry to hear that, buddy.
Yeah.
But I'm here if you want me. I love you, man. But we just need to be better people, and me included. But this is help out your first responders.
Right.
Thank a veteran. Veterans don't need free stuff, or we don't even need thanks. Really, just show your appreciation to the sacrifices these people are making. I had fun in the Navy, and I toured the world, and it was peacetime for the most of my enlistment, but learn about the sacrifices these guys are making, and especially the ones that don't make it home.
Right.
So that's really my big advice to people is just let's all be better.
Joe, well said. Well, Joe Burdick, thank you for your time, and any updates that come along, let me know, and we'll bring you back on to keep everybody else updated.
Absolutely, Jake. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Of course. Well, thanks, man. Have a good day.
Hey, and tell Seth vacation's over. Get back to work.
I will. I will. I'll let him know. Yep, I'll let him know. Have a good day, buddy. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love hearing that.
Oh, yeah. No,
as he's lounging around doing nothing,
right. Yeah, feel better soon, Seth. That, of course, Joe Burdick. He makes the custom flags. So if you look up Joe Burdick custom flags, they're really nice. And usually, that's what I would talk to him about if he comes on, but clearly, this is something really important, and I wanted to make sure that he spoke about that because he's making headway. And you know what? It started with 1, and what do I always say? It starts with 1, turns into 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, and so on. And you're seeing an example of that with Joe Burdick. Great job, and anyway, we can keep you updated on that. We will. This is the Jake Underwood Show. We're going to go to break.